Hi. If you want to manage the consulting project effectively, you have to have proper records. Records of everything. We need to have records of the assignment, records of execution, the contract, which is the first record, and then records of the administrative matters. What are consultants being paid? When have they been paid? What are the expenses of consultants? What were the problems during the projects? So there needs to be some type of system that keeps record of the whole consulting project. Now, in this session, I intend to give you the most important record-keeping methodologies, especially with relating to time, that consultants use. Let's have a look. First, there's the assignment notification. This is a supplement to the current client file, and it notifies the various sections in the consulting firm of the assignment that's going to take place. This is also a record where there's changes in staff being made, or changes in dates being made, or any basic client file issues, database, people who should be contacted within the client company, etc. So that's the first step. The next step is the consultant's time records. This is very important. Let's have a look at the aspects that needs to be in such a consulting time record database. The consultant's time records should indicate the following items. Firstly, the consultant's name, the dates of periods covered, the client's names, the fee rates for the paid work, number of fee earning days per client, and the number of non-fee earning days per client. Now, in terms of the non-fee earning days, there's a number of additional items here. Firstly, what is it for? Is it attending public or professional events, giving training? Is it for leave, preliminary surveys, promotional activities, receiving training, sickness, supervision, unassigned? Make sure that the non-fee earning days are clearly defined and described. Now we have a look at the consultant's expenses. This is often more complicated than the one would think. The reason for this is that every situation is different, and consultants would have a lot of unexpected expenses which they would want to claim. Now, the first rule here is to clearly understand what is allowed and what is not allowed. What are the rules here? This must be clear to the consultant, and the client firm must communicate this adequately. Secondly, we need to look at the consulting firm policy regarding expenses, the contract that was negotiated with the client regarding expenses. Of course, when the consulting firm claims expenses from the client, there needs to be receipts. Receipts has to be added to the invoice. So the consultant has to keep a very good record of all purchases and expenses. And this record must be in the form of receipts or invoices. These will then be attached to the formal invoice to the client, and then the client would, according to the rules that were agreed on, pay this out. If there are no records for such expenses, then it's unlikely that the client company will pay the consulting company, and it's also then unlikely that the consulting company would reimburse the consultant for this. In terms of the main sources of consulting expenses, these are usually accommodation and meal costs, travel cost, communication cost, that could be telecommunications, faxes sent, etc. Use of special services. I know that if I'm away, then I often pay extra for internet at the hotels where I stay. Entertainment for client and other business contracts. This would be lunch or dinner. So there's the types of expenses that the consultant could incur that were not part of the initial consulting fee. Lastly, there's the assignment reference report. This is also called an assignment summary by many consultants, and of course is handed in at the end of the consulting assignment. Now, this is not your usual report because it doesn't contain the detail as that one would give in the client handing over report, or the handing over report to the client of the project. No, this assignment summary is more about future business, the possibility of using the client as a reference, etc. So it's more for internal use by the consulting company to determine whether future business is possible with the client company. Let's have a look at the checklist for the various aspects that should be in such a closure internal report. In terms of this reference report checklist, the following items should be there. Firstly, the client company's name and address, the assigner's name and title, the nature and size of the client organization, operating function of the assignment, names of the members to the consulting team, start and finish dates, Brief summary of the objectives and results that had to be achieved during this consulting assignment. Reference to all reports and documents that form part of this consulting assignment. Client feedback on the quality and results. Hopefully this is quantified. Consulting firm rating on assignment quality and results also must be quantified. Rating on the value of the assignment, which must also be quantified. Whether the client can be used as a reference, this is very important. And of course, future business opportunities from this assignment.